What do you want? What do you want, honey? More what?
More?
More what? Cheese? Cheese? Can you say it? Cheese?
Good girl.
Good job. Your body is missing an enzyme or a protein to properly dispose of or process an element of a fat or a sugar. So whatever the body can't traffic builds up in the cells and eventually becomes toxic to the cells and kills the cells, and which causes just progression and deterioration in different areas. In Marian's case, her disease is considered neurodegenerative, which means that it attacks the brain as the primary area of threat to her life and causes loss of all skills. So kids start out developing normally, and you would never know that anything was wrong, and these are all recessive conditions, so you would never know it's in your family history.
And when was the first time you noticed any symptoms whatsoever?
Marian's case is a little bit different than a lot of other kids with her condition, because typically by the time you start noticing symptoms that would bring you to the doctor, it's pretty far advanced. In Marian's case, she has a little bit of a different presentation where she has shown some developmental delays and some muscle weakness, which was the first thing that we noticed. She was a normal, healthy baby, but just seemed very delicate and kind of struggled to sit up, couldn't hold her sit, couldn't push from the floor to a sit. But but was able to do other things. Her fine motor skills were fine, her speech was fine. So that's what brought us to the doctor at first. And a physical therapist said that she has what's called low muscle tone, which is where the muscles and the joints are just a little bit lax. And they said most of the time kids that have that, you don't really know why they have it, but they're perfectly fine. So that's of course what we're hoping for Marian.
Yeah, so you took her to Children's Hospital in Los Angeles, right, as well as trips to Chicago, I understand.
Yes, we started out at a neurologist in Pasadena, and then we were sent over to Children's Hospital Los Angeles because of Marian's muscle weakness, and to see a neuromuscular specialist there. And when we were there, they felt her abdomen and felt that her spleen and liver seemed to be enlarged. And that was really what rang the alarm bells and took it to the next level from, okay, this is something that she'll probably grow out of and this is a precaution, to she probably has something very, very serious. And this is probably a very early warning sign of potentially something fatal.
Now she's happy.
So we continued our care with Children's Hospital Los Angeles, and they worked with us to help us get a diagnosis, which took about almost 6 months, 5 or 6 months, which is actually fast. The average,
is it really
the average is 4 years to get this diagnosis.
Really?
At least it was. It might be changing now that there's better testing.
Now she is, according to what I read, or maybe you mentioned it yesterday, she's the youngest person in the world as far as you know with this, because it really, how do they equate it to childhood
Alzheimer's?
Alzheimer's, yeah. It's very interesting how, I mean, I've never heard that.
So
I certainly never heard of this disease. I'm sure you hadn't until...
I hadn't. Yeah. So, well, she's not the youngest person in the world who has it, but she's the youngest person in the world that we know who's getting the treatment, the experimental treatment. Hey. And only a few countries in the world allow access to a clinical trial drug outside of the clinical trial. In the United States, it's one of them. I know Spain is another, but in England, in most of Europe, they don't allow it. In Canada, they don't allow it yet. They're working on it. So, in terms of childhood, two. Do you want more? That's please.
Is that please?
So childhood Alzheimer's, it gets the nickname childhood Alzheimer's and has been dubbed that because of the neurodegeneration, meaning how it attacks the brain and causes the loss of brain function, so which includes memory.
Right.
So the kids do, one of the hallmark symptoms, the kids do experience dementia and memory loss, forgetfulness. They'll eventually probably forget, who their family is, where, things like that.
That'll be very hard for you and your husband. How are you coping?
It's very difficult. So it's been a positive experience to try and share our story and to try and raise awareness and reach out and connect with other families experiencing something similar. And I really believe that it makes a tremendous difference of how quickly you could get diagnosed, because none of the treatments right now, there's no FDA approved treatment, but the one that's in the works and hopefully will get FDA approved, it doesn't restore anything that's lost. It just helps to prevent or slow further damage.
So it could hopefully extend her life.
Yes, definitely. It definitely should extend her life, as with what we know, but it won't cure it, and it probably won't stop it forever. They just don't know how long it will work for.
These medical costs, I mean, I know some of the clinical trials and things are probably, I don't know if it's complimentary or not, but just traveling alone, I mean, there's a huge expense.
Mama? Yeah.
What do you want?
Cheese? She says, who's that?
Are you all done? More cheese? I think you had enough cheese. All done? It sounds like she's saying more cheese, doesn't it? Can't move at all anymore. And
So you keep in contact with some of these people
Yeah.
as a kind of a support group system?
yeah, it's really, I think, very positive, and it's just a really special connection with, for some reason, it's people that you don't know at all, don't really have that much in common outside of this, but
Right.
it feels like an instant support system and like an instant
I bet you
familial
need it
network.
at times too.
Oh, definitely. And I think that the people in the community were kind of we're each other's best resource in moving the awareness and the research forward. And what I really feel for Marian is that the other kids who have NPC is that the science and medicine exists to save the kids who have it right now. It exists. It's in early, I feel really confident that it's in early stages in a lab somewhere, or maybe more advanced stages in a lab somewhere. It's just, it takes so long and such a tremendous amount of money to bring, to get it out of the lab.
Wow. Well, I see that the GoFundMe account has raised quite a bit, but you have a long way to go still.
Yes, it has raised. I've been really, really honored and feel really grateful to our friends and family and strangers that have